Hi, this is Cathy Vartuli from thrivingnow.com, here with Reid Mihalko from readaboutsex.com, and we're talking about jealousy.
So this is video 3.
Yes.
There's 2 other videos if you have not seen them.
They stand alone, but you're welcome to. They're fun.
Watch all 3.
Yes. So I never knew that jealousy had 8 arms. Could you explain them?
So this came out of a conversation with a good friend of mine, who is a psychologist who teaches other psychologists, and we'll call her Dr. Beth. And we got to talking about jealousy. She was somebody who would experience it a lot. And we really started geeking out. And then she was also a research scientist, so she started researching other studies on jealousy and found that there were these basic, all these studies were different and created differently, and they were starting to fall into different patterns of some would study, sense of loss. Some would study jealousy around, sense of insecurity. Other people were making distinctions between jealousy and envy and feelings of inferiority and all this stuff. And she realized that there were basically about 8 categories that jealousy was falling into, because in the science world, jealousy was kind of this conglomeration of a bunch of different emotions.
And it's harder to pick. It's harder to, if you don't distinguish different aspects, it's hard. We always talk about that with tapping. If you don't go to the specific aspect, it's very hard to untangle it.
Yeah.
So if you're lumping everything together, it's going to be harder. It's going to be a mess.
It's going to be very complicated and overwhelming, because you can't sort out what's actually going on.
And it's harder to identify your own needs about it.
And it's way harder to identify your own needs when you're in the emotional soup that's happening. And this is why I think in our culture, because we don't talk about jealousy enough, and we try to avoid it because it's so monstrous. This is why nobody can get any traction, any headway, because when it comes for you is the only time you really think to work on it. And once it's got you, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So the idea of breaking jealousy down into these 8 different categories, and I'm like, in my genius moment, I'm like, it has 8 arms. It's an octopus. Thinking
octopus kind of pull at you and tangle you, and that's what jealousy does. And
when you start figuring out what the arms are, and not everybody gets pulled on by all 8 arms. Sometimes it's only 3. But once you start to figure out what those arms are, and then you look under those fears and needs for, well, how can I lessen the fear? How can I make it safer? And then how can I get those needs met?
Yes.
Then you basically, the arms will let go of you.
Yeah.
And the idea that most people, if all your needs are getting met, in a relationship, at work, whatever, family member, because jealousy is not always a romantic thing. When you have all your needs getting met, it's rare that you experience jealousy.
Yes. But
we don't walk around being like, wow, I'm not feeling jealous today. This is amazing. I wonder why I'm not feeling jealous. What happens is we're like, la 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 la, jealousy, and we're like, ah!
Yes.
And then you can't figure it out then.
Yes. And if you can identify what your triggers for jealousy are, you can tell your partner, your boss, your friend what you need. And it's really, instead of them kind of flowing around going, I don't know what you want, you can just say, Reid, you did a great job today. I really appreciate that. And
then I feel really reassured, and my sense of security is restored. And then I can celebrate the fact that my partner at work got a promotion.
Yes.
It might still sting, but then I'm realizing, oh, that's envy, not jealousy. And then you're halfway through, deactivating.
If you can tell people in your life what you need, if you've identified that, it makes it so much easier for them to feel like a success and for you to get what you need.
Yeah.
So,
and then basically jealousy becomes like an asthma attack. You can stop the attack. And then when you're really good, you get your needs met ahead of time. And you're kind of like, you can avoid your triggers, like those of us who have asthma. You can avoid your triggers. And then the black belt version is, once you learn how to avoid your triggers, which we'll talk about in the calls, you can start inoculating yourself and deactivating those triggers. And that's where tapping is super awesome.
Yeah. So come back for the next video.
Dun, dun, dun.